Wow. Guys, what is happening in the football world? We got the Chargers looking like the most up and coming team in the NFL. We got the Browns looking like a Super Bowl contender. Alabama hasn't lost in years, goes down number one. Cincinnati and Iowa are in the top four. With all this commotion and stress and craziness going on, it's beautiful that rest assured, the worst team in football is still the Detroit Lions, baby. One pride.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
0-5, baby. Number one draft pick. Welcome into Guys Being Dudes Fantasy Football. This is your host, Noah. As always, with me are my beautiful co-hosts. We have the full roster here. Nobody's on IR. We are all healthy and ready to go. Kieran Day, Jared Williams, Michael Smith in the house. It is week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's not bad, guys. The over-under was 8.5 on our second episode release, so we definitely hit the under there. I know I made a few bucks in Vegas. Good to be back with y'all. Michael, thank you so much for joining us. How are you guys doing? Give me some content. Update me.
And I'm doing well. It's good to be back in the saddle. It's been a while.
Has it? Well, Michael's shaking off some rust, which we can, usually it's like you like to do maybe a 10, 15 minute, second segment. Now it's fading on me. So let's keep it going. But we'll cut you some slack early on.
I think, you said the Lions are the worst team in the league, 0-5. I think there's a team that might have y'all beat.
I think they're playing in London this week.
Who might that be?
And they play in Florida. It's the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, come on. You take the Dolphins over the Jets?
No, I think the Jets are the worst team in football.
I still think the Lions run over the Jets. But everybody had the Jets beating the Falcons, which was wild. I saw that and I was like, all right, good for you. So bold and amazing. Thought the Jets were gonna win. Anyways, wouldn't hurt to beat Lamar once in a while, but it's okay. Let's move into some football. Before we get into it, we had the craziest week in our Guys Being Dudes league with, I think, 4 2-point games, 2 of which were decided in the final seconds. Mark Andrews and Marquise Brown coming in with 42, 43 and like 30 points apiece, and just absolute mayhem. What you really want out of fantasy football, and it just gets the people going. Did you guys have any close games come up at the end there?
Yeah, I was just permanently stressed on Monday night, and I think that's been kind of a full year projectable statistic for Monday Night Football so far this year. The NFL has just done a crazy good job slating these games. I don't know how they do it, but they have. And I had 2 games come down to the last minute. I won one and lost one, but I don't know. I just feel like the NFL has been amazing on Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, Monday Night Football, and I really think it's been one of the better seasons so far. So I've just been stoked to see that those games are panning out. And then you have games like that where big name players are producing. Every single big name in that game came through on both sides of the ball. So that just gets me excited. And I love to see on Twitter afterwards, you see the crazy stories of like, I saw one guy who was up 111 points going into Monday Night Football. They lost because they had Lamar Jonathan Taylor, and Mark Andrews, and they ended up losing. So those things are just crazy to see.
But there's nothing better than watching people sweat on Monday Night Football when a matchup is in the balance.
Yeah, losing the triple-digit lead is a really, really tough.
It's a bummer.
I had declared myself lost. I was down 20 with Andrews and Ravens D versus Colts kicker and Colts defense, and they combined for -1, I think, or maybe 1. That was helpful.
Colts defense on the road against the Ravens. That's a bold pick.
I had Tucker versus Ravens defense, and I was down. And Tucker put up 1. I think Tucker put up 2 points, and I ended up winning because the Ravens defense put up like -6. It was just so electric.
Well, a super exciting week in the NFL. This is really good games this year so far. There's some good content out there, but it just seems like, um, you know, we don't know what's happening with Mahomes and the Chiefs. Chargers are up. I mean, this just seems like a really crazy. The one consistent, and I think everyone loved coming into the season. Buffalo Bills look like a clear favorite for the Super Bowl. I know a few of us had them going in, but let's get into some injuries. Speaking of the Chiefs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire out for, was it 3 to 4 weeks? And that comes in Darrell Williams. We've seen this show before. This is, the Chiefs back comes in. Personally, I tend to avoid it because Darrell Williams has been the guy. He's the guy who'll go like 16 carries for 42 yards and 2 touchdowns, once a year. So I think from the perspective of a safety pick, but I'll take a fill in like Damian Williams with a little bit of upside, in my opinion, over him.
Definitely, but he's the guy that gets the goal line touches even when Clyde is healthy. So, he's still going to get those goal line touches. He's probably going to get another 5 to 10 carries and some more passing work. So I think it's between him and with Saquon going down, Devontae Booker. Those are the two waiver picks of the week. I don't know who you're claiming first.
The triple D there, the triple D of backups. Damian.
I mean, you're going to use them both for 3-4 weeks. So it's kind of a toss-up.
But between those three, I mean, those are literally all like 2 to 4 week timelines. Rank those three guys, because I need running backs in like a few leagues bad right now. And let me throw
Damian's first. Damian's definitely first. But
okay,
he's already been claimed. Hopefully, should have been last week. I'm leaning Booker just based on because we saw the play this week and we saw him perform, and there's not a number 3 back. So I'm leaning Booker over Darrell, but it's a toss-up for me.
I'm going to be a little bit controversial and say I do not think Damian Williams is the best of those 3 over the next couple of weeks because 2 reasons. One, they're going to have completely negative game scripts over the next 3 weeks. They play the Packers, they play the Bucks, they play the 49ers. They're not playing the Raiders every Sunday. Let's be honest here. And 2, Khalil Herbert had about as many touches and looked better than Damian Williams on Sunday. So I think they have no reason not to work him in and him become the second back when David Montgomery does come back. So I would probably lean Booker out of those 3.
Yeah. I mean, I
some good stuff.
I agree with you there. I mean, I have concerns about kind of all 3 of them. I mean, I just get this kind of inkling of a feeling that Mahomes and Brady, I think, are 2 guys who really have stuff to prove and they listen to the outside noise. And I just think I have this weird feeling that Mahomes is going to go hero mode coming up, where it just feels like this year so far. I have so many Chiefs players in my fantasy team, and it seems like he's just trying to do a little too much. And I can see with this running back going down and Reed always loving to, have that game script that I don't know how much is going to change in terms of like Darrell's touches. I think it's just going to be more passing. So that's my concern there. With Damian, Mike, I think you hit it on the head. The only side piece on that is he did have quite a few receptions. So hopefully if he's used in that role, but that is like to be seen. And then with the Giants, Booker, is going to be the goal line guy. I think he's pretty safe in terms of work, but is Daniel Jones going to play? Like I've learned, my rule of thumb is never trust Mike Glennon. So, I mean, if he's the starter, I don't know if I want any piece of that, but all of them are serviceable. All of them are throw them in. They're going to get 16 to 20 carries probably, or touches. And you kind of hope someone falls.
I mean, man, if Daniel Jones hits Saquon on that slant, he was wide open. He doesn't roll his ankle. He probably goes for a touchdown. I mean, there was no one with.
Yeah, a lot of people say if Daniel Jones X, and that's a world we don't live in. Juju Smith-Schuster out for the season. This is a surprising one. And we have 2 names remaining, Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson. I mean, the first question is which of those 2 do you want?
You know who's better. Come on. Although Chase did outplay him. I
think there is a situation where you want Claypool right now. If I'm sitting at 4-1, 5-0, I'll take Claypool because he is the 6'4" Mapletron that can come out and actually like be a game breaker. We saw him have 4 touchdowns in the game last year. Deontay's not going to do that. Deontay's most scenarios I'd probably rather have him as a safety net, but I have one league where I have Corey Davis and T. Higgins on the bench, I'd rather have Claypool there.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been kind of the Claypool truther as my bold prediction state that isn't going so well, but I agree. I mean, when one of the three of them doesn't play and Claypool gets 90% snap share, that's when he's at his best. But I was looking into this because I was so kind of puzzled by Deontay's targets last week. In games that Big Ben has started, that Deontay's played and not been benched, he has somewhere between like a minimum of 8 targets up to like 19 in all of those games. Outside of last week, which I think was an outlier for whatever reason. I just have personally, that's been my strategy this year is, have a couple players that, can shoot for the moon, but having those guys in PPR that just rake in targets, Keenan Allen's, the Deontay Johnsons, those are the ones I trust.
Trying to move or trade for Claypool?
I put out offers for both of them in all of my leagues, not all of them, but some of my leagues. But Claypool, I can see him blowing up, so I'm hesitant to be down on him, but I don't know. He's just such a big play guy, and with Big Ben's arm, that floppy arm of his, I don't know how.
Yeah, I equate him to kind of the Tyler Lockett in that offense. If he could get 40, he could get 5. You just don't know. And I think Deontay is a much more known commodity. Not that Claypool's not good; he's a really good player. It's just for whatever reason he'll have few targets and not much production, whereas Deontay, kind of like you said, Kieran, is kind of more like Keenan Allen, where you kind of know what you're going to get unless he, drops 4 balls and gets benched. But hopefully that doesn't happen.
Michael, you're kind of like the Josh Gordon of podcasting. You'll take a hiatus for a bit, come back, big buzz around the media scene. People are a little busy there. People are real excited to see amazing flashes. I mean, people remember you're a record-breaking host. And you had a 3-week stretch that was just unprecedented back in 2018. So
everybody remembers I'm the Deontay Johnson truther. Talk about that separation from 3 years back.
Oh, come on.
2 years back.
We should have like a deep dive greatest guys being dudes calls of all time, starting with Kieran Lamar Jackson. Hey, don't forget about John Brown, baby. We love some vintage JB.
Who's that Bears receiver you picked? Anthony Miller.
Anthony Miller.
Week 1, he goes 4 for 74 to touchdown. I took a victory lap.
Just to see how far that's fallen. Anthony Miller, as of last week, cut by the Houston Texans.
And then signed to the Jags practice squad.
Then
didn't sign because the Steelers cut or put Juju on IR, and now he's in Pittsburgh.
Let's go.
Going dumpster diving.
Anyways, let's get some backfields. Baltimore and Niners, seemingly like when you think of Niners, you think of Baltimore, first thing running offense, but then you actually look at the fantasy value of running backs, and it's always a headache, to say the least. Niners it's when will they escape this? It is ridiculous. Trey Sermon's like the first back they've drafted that's gonna not look good, like on the field. But he's like was he a 3rd rounder? Had a great college career, but it's just they just can't figure it out. So we have Mitchell and Trey. Mitchell got the edge this week, and I think that's the guy you want going forward. I guess you have the other factors of Jeff Wilson you can have in your IR. Am I missing some names?
No, that's who I want. I want Jeff Wilson. I'm holding out for Jeff Wilson.
Jeff Wilson had really good stretch at the end of last season, and I do feel I've had him on two deep benches, so I actually do like that play there.
You know who the best running back on the 49ers is?
Kyle Juszczyk or Trey Lance. Kyle Juszczyk.
Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, probably. Deebo Samuel.
He housed one from the backfield.
Yeah. There's a sell high for me actually. It's Deebo, but we can get into sell high. Yeah. Okay. That's an easy sell for me.
Please give Ayuk some targets.
Dude, Ayuk was the one player like I was highest on. I didn't get anywhere. Thank God.
Same.
Anyway,
I don't know how it happened, but
how about Baltimore, guys?
Same.
I mean, what's your take there?
It's disgusting. It's quite literally disgusting. Say it again.
What about an original take that you have there?
I don't know, dude. I compare the Ravens backfield to a bunch of Sony Michels, honestly, if that's okay. And that's because Lamar Jackson is the center of the offense, and wherever he goes, the offense goes. And if he wants to run the ball, he can. If he wants to pass the ball, he can. and it's
I mean, who
not.
do you want right now, Tyson or Latavius?
Neither.
I don't think you need any.
I think
Ravens running back.
I think right now with the running back landscape, I think both should be rostered. If one clears up, both have had very startable weeks. This week was a weird one. They were down. I don't think they're going to be down in game and have a game script like that a lot. We saw what Lamar can do, but like they don't want. I mean, we can't forget that he's probably not going to have a super long career. They're going to pull that out of him because they're going for the Super Bowl now. So they need to make sure he's healthy. I mean, I think both. I specifically like, who did I drop? I dropped some veteran Emmanuel Sanders type instead of dropping Williams because I want the upside of a back like that who could have just a nice amount of volume versus someone I could probably fill in with my wide receiver 4.
I just don't think you're going to know when that volume comes. I mean, he had that week 2, 14 carries and like 80
I'm saying I'm
yards.
hoping that
2
it
weeks
clears
later,
up.
he's a healthy scratch. Like I don't think you can count on knowing
Healthy
when to
scratch
play
is
either of them.
Here, so weird.
Yeah, I mean that's my issue with it is I get the feeling that like Tyson Williams for some unknown reason is in the doghouse or something where he like looks the best when he's out there. He like his yards per carry isn't bad. He looks like he has like not brick for hands, but serviceable hands. And if you just watch, it seems like he should be the one, but I think they're looking for just somebody who's not gonna, screw it up. And he's missed some blocking
Guys,
assignments. Latavius is just a bull at the goal line. So I think if you needed like a flex play, I would roster Latavius over Tyson because you know what you're going to get. But I'm not excited.
Bad matchups.
I think that they're fine rosterable items. Are healthy scratches like I feel like we didn't have healthy scratches more than 2 years ago. Am I hallucinating?
No, we definitely didn't. I don't know what it is, but
like those are like one.
It reminds me of like baseball where 1 week a guy will be leading off, or one game he's leading off, and then the next game he's batting 8th. And it's kind of like that where there'll be a healthy scratch, and then the next week they're getting 20 carries. And the first thing that comes to mind is the 49ers backfield, but
I mean,
it seems to be.
Think about it, week 1. The 49ers took Sermon in second, third round, healthy scratch. The Bills backup, who's probably their best running back, Zach Moss, he just was a healthy inactive for whatever reason.
He was sick.
Just like he was sick.
He was sick that game, yeah.
Never
He's
mind.
looking sick out there, he is. Well, anyways, some news we just have to discuss here. Gruden out as the Raiders coach. We got 2 Raiders fans on the cast. At least I can still wear my Lions pride without having to feel bad about my organization. Jeez, Noah, that was harsh. Anyways.
Seems like you guys have a respectable coach.
Dude, I would play for head coach Dan Campbell. That
Oh,
dude is
oh,
electric.
yeah. Dude,
Throw me out there with no pads for Dan Campbell. Like
I would kick
Dude, if
Urban to
I
the
coach
curb.
Rise in a press conference, dude, I'm like, oh wow, I'm gonna have to go kneel down somewhere and have a come to football moment, and just run through a brick wall. But I'm so worried about the Raiders in the short term. I think they might get it figured out, but like, I always feel like the Raiders are on skates and are just kind of like figuring out as they go along and changing game plans and getting Josh Jacobs is the focus of our offense. Now it's Waller. Now we're gonna get our deep guys going. I'm just worried about it. I think you're obviously starting.
Waller.
Thank you, Waller. But Carr, that was a fun ride. And I think Renfro has to be rostered too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so hard to be a Raiders fan. I mean, you finally just felt really good that we were not great but good, and it felt so good to just be above average, and I was so excited about it, and something just had to come. And I feel like this whole year has had this weird like media hype over random teams just die down so quickly. Like there's the whole like Rams are the best team in the world. Like no one's ever going to stop them. And then they lose and then they kind of aren't talked about anymore. And then it's like Raiders are undefeated. Then they lose. And now it's like, oh, they're probably never going to win a game again. It's just like, I feel like this year has been such a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And it's just on brand to see this shit type of just happen.
I feel like Cardinals only had like 1 week up there too.
Cardinals are riding high right now until they lose like a random game 9-7 to like the Bears, and then they're done.
Now
I
it's
mean,
the
the
Chargers and
Chargers.
Cardinals. It's those two and the
Yeah.
Bills. Those three.
Well, no, I think the Cardinals. I mean, I think they beat the Niners by like 3, and I think people now it's the Bills and the Chargers at the end of the race. But let's keep moving on. I mean, any other thoughts on Gruden worth noting?
Dude, I honestly don't think he's was that good of a coach in general. So
Yeah, I mean,
in
that
terms
was
of the franchise going forward, from a football perspective, he's also a terrible drafter.
Carr's always been an analytic
Yeah.
him.
I honestly, I'm not. I wasn't a big Gruden guy before all this came out. So
Just more mad about the distraction, not really
Yeah.
feeling like it's going to be any sort of huge drop off in
Yeah,
production.
it's disappointing.
Right.
He was a fun character, but it was just yeah. Anyways, side the point, Chiefs in trouble. That's the headline we got from Kieran. Chiefs in trouble? Question mark.
Yeah, there we go.
This just in. Yes. Tyreek is just he had the 44 burger, and then it's a bunch of 4 or 5s. I mean, I'm 2-3 in the league. I'm a 3-time back-to-back champion and I'm 2-3 and feeling not really great about my team. And I think that I might have to I think Hill is holding us back. I think the potential I could receive for him is too much. My backs are Gaskin and a nobody of some sort. So neither of which are making me comfortable. What do you guys think? Do I trade Tyreek for a running back, maybe a quarterback? My quarterback's Kirk.
it's a brutal
Or running
lineup.
back and receiver.
I mean,
Who's your other
I
receiver?
was gonna say no until you read those running backs, and then I am waiting
Yeah.
for that baby.
Well, I had Raheem, and so we know how that ended.
I
But
think you got to just, I think eventually you probably will have to, but it's so hard to do it now. I mean, I think the name always will carry the value, but he's probably due for a
He can win you
35-point
any week.
game.
I mean, we
you know?
talk about how we're disappointed with him last week, but he still had 13 targets, 7 catches over 60 yards, and a carry and
Yeah, but
15 yards. I think if you're going to trade him, I would wait for him to have another 40-point game or a blow up where he scores 2 touchdowns, because he can go off and win you a single matchup. I wouldn't trade him now, but if you really need help, I would wait.
But wait, there's more. Gaskin, Singletary, and Ronald Jones, and Tyson Williams.
You don't own Ronald Jones still, do you?
Ronald Jones, I still actually think you should roster.
No.
I think that
It's a
he
big
could-
week on waivers for you. You got to hope you tag one of those guys. I feel like.
Yeah.
You need-
and then the
you need to stop
Chargers. I think you got
Chargers are legit.
restart. There's 4 people on the Chargers. You start every week, and if you need a bye week fill in, there's other stuff too. Anything
Yeah.
else?
They have the
That's
most defined. I feel
well,
like some
thank
good
you.
teams, you're still okay, do I start this guy? Do I not? But what you're doing with the Chargers. You're not starting anyone besides Herbert, Eckler, Evans, and Keenan.
Mike
It's just-
Williams was a classic. Went with my gut, picked Mike Williams preseason, and then you just got to stick with it. I think that was. I
Yeah.
think I've heard that narrative with a few people. It just made sense.
Yeah.
And had a good season
It's
last
amazing
year.
what happens when he doesn't get
Peter.
hurt.
Amazing.
Knock
And
on
then
wood.
I had to add one of my favorite characters of this offseason, Kadarius Toney, 21st overall pick to the Giants, where obscure wide receiver talent goes to dwindle or something. I don't know. There's just some weird Darius Slayton. There's some stats with Darius Slayton that are he's only Julio and Odell have games in the first 3 seasons like he did or something like that. But now Kadarius is there. But this team on the receivers, John Ross, Kenny Galladay, I mean, just
Sterling.
such a room. I'm kind of.
I almost feel like people are a little too high on him,
Yeah.
considering none of the injuries for the other guys are that serious. Kenny Galladay, he left early. I don't expect him to go on IR or anything. Sterling Shepard hasn't been on IR. He's probably coming back soon. Evan Ingram's now fully integrated into the offense. So I don't think that ceiling for Tony is as high as maybe.
Let
what
me
he's
ask this
going
question. One, are those 2 names you just listed off injury prone?
Yes. they
Two,
are.
are we convinced that they're better than Kadarius Toney? That game, he
No, I'm not.
absolutely got Trayvon Diggs lost in the sauce on one of his routes where he
Well,
did a little
Trayvon
close
Diggs is
quarter.
not that good of a
Man.
coverage corner this
He
year.
just looked like the best receiver on that roster.
Yeah. I mean, I
That's fair, but
had that same discussion with somebody this morning, which was like, how much fab do I spend on Kadarius Toney? And it's one of those where there's so many mouths to feed, but at some point you just got to pick the best one and be like, maybe he's just the best one, you
Yeah.
know? So it's kind of one of those you got to call your shot on.
Absolutely should be
Mhm.
should be rostered. I'm just not. I think he's overhyped. I think he's pretty. Giants.
Same.
There's some rooms on some teams you just I just tend to avoid. Running back on the Eagles, wide receiver on the Giants.
That's fair.
Like, I don't know if any others come to mind.
those are the only two.
49ers backfield.
All you need.
No, 49ers backfield go crazy.
No, do not.
Raiders receivers, I don't really, maybe a little info from time to time, but I don't really dabble in the Ruggs game. Anyways, Darius Toney, I'm not going to touch him probably. Sell high. Cup, I don't think any of us are trying to sell. I mean, if let's say next week, here's a good one. Next week, Cup puts up 25, Tyreek puts up 8. You sending out Cup for Tyreek?
Yeah. I would.
I mean, I'd rather have Tyreek still than Cup, but
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like, would you trade for Tyreek?
yeah. I
So
mean,
let's say
yeah, I'd rather have
hypothetical, you're
Tyreek.
5-0, you have a deep
I-
receiver room.
I think it depends on your team. If you have a really good team,
Yeah.
and you don't really need the upside of Tyreek, like just keep Cooper Kupp. He has double-digit targets in every game. He's not going to be a dud. So, like, I think it could depend on your team who you would prefer.
Fair. For personally, one I think is a clear sell high, Antonio Brown. I've been off of him the whole year. I just think you're going to get these games and you're going to start him in other weeks and you have no idea. And I think you gotta. He's good. I guarantee he's another 2-touchdown, 170-yard game or whatever. You're just gonna be disappointed the other weeks, and you got to have some of that consistency. If you can trade Antonio Brown for a guy like, anyone got a name? Thielen, and
Claypool?
that's probably too high. Claypool, yeah, I probably go Claypool.
T.
I
Higgins.
think it's a pretty even.
T. Higgins,
I'd
yeah,
rather
I'd go yeah.
Claypool, I wouldn't trade Antonio Brown for Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen's targets have gone down every single week. And I think the thing with Antonio Brown is, yeah, the expectation isn't 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. But if you watch the games, he's getting
So
A,
good.
1 to 2 end zone targets a game, and B, he
Yeah.
looks really good. So I think the expectation of him as like a wide receiver 3 flex that you probably drafted him as is pretty
Mhm.
perfect. But I don't think if somebody's buying like, oh, Antonio Brown's back to the number 1 receiver, yeah, sell him quick. But I don't think you need to go buy someone who's slumping because you don't think he's going to keep up this like huge upside. I think he's solid, and I think that offense is going to roll.
I can't believe I'm going to say this name. Would you rather have Antonio Brown or Cordarrelle Patterson?
That's a bad question. Cordarrelle.
Yeah,
Antonio
Cordell.
Brown.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
I think the running back scarcity is too
Oh,
much. You got to
Half
take
PPR, I'll take that all year.
I guess yeah, the running back scarcity, but in terms of points, I we'll talk about Cordero later, but he's on the field for like 40 to 50% of snaps. He's had so many
So
touchdowns.
good.
Ridley's gonna get
I can't believe he's finally like realized his potential.
yeah.
I
I mean, maybe
remember-
I'm just totally
Dude,
off.
I remember in Madden Mobile, all your teams you have Cordarrelle Patterson as the punter, as a returner. It was a sneaky move. You put him in a returner, 99 speed. That's how I learned him. It was like 64 overall, but 99 speed. And look at
He's
him
like
go.
Percy Harvin.
It's like a manual
Yeah,
standard.
maybe.
Just maintain
Could
the
be.
speed through age.
All right, I'll give you the
Knox.
biggest one this week is Dawson Knox. And I say this because,
Second.
and it pains me. I was high on Robert Tunyon. And Dawson Knox this year is Robert Tunyon all of last year with this touchdown dependency, lack of
Robert
target
Tonyan was a
share.
great play last year.
I know, but the regression is I don't see Dawson Knox being. I think it's hard to categorize him as a top 10 tight end moving forward as a for sure top 10 tight end.
The thing is, like,
Yeah, but-
it just depends. I think you either have a replacement or you don't. Because, like,
Yeah,
if you have
but
if you have Dawson Knox and let's say like I mean, and Tyler Higbee. I mean, between those two, who are you taking?
Rest of season, I'll take.
I'll take Knox.
Ooh,
Yeah, I'll take Knox.
that's
too.
probably close.
I agree that Knox.
But I don't think. I think people are valuing Knox a lot higher than they're valuing Higbee right now.
Yeah, I
And
think
you
that
can trade Knox for a lot more than he's worth.
I think that's the point. I think like it's not necessarily that you're going to trade him for a receiver and then go back into the dumpster of tight end. If you can do Dawson Knox and a little something for Kittle, or Dawson Knox and a little something for another bigger tight end to upgrade
Yeah.
the position for a more
like that.
consistent
Yeah.
player, that's where I think it's going to go. But obviously tight ends are just kind of a like hellhole. Like if you have one that you can play him, but if you can upgrade him with somebody who's a Bills fan or somebody who watched that game and really wants to buy in, then yeah, I think that's where you sell him.
How about your other bill there, Kieran? Why do you want to sell up and coming running back Zach Moss?
I think this is a similar thing to what I think about Cordero Patterson. I guess I have them both there. I just think the touchdowns they've had so far are one of the easiest things to talk about in fantasy football. It's just touchdown regression is pretty obvious when it's happening. I think he has 5 touchdowns in 5 games, or 4 touchdowns in 5 games. He only played in 4 of them. And I think Mike said this before the show. Josh Allen only has 1 rushing touchdown on the year so far. They have 2 running backs, and we've seen this before with the Bills. They are totally fine to abandon the run at any point, and they've just been boat racing teams and having this kind of garbage time. I think Zach Moss has averaged the most fourth quarter touches. He's getting all this work in the fourth quarter, and I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen the rest of the season. So if somebody's viewing him that way with the running back scarcity, I think he's just a normal sell high. You can get someone better who's been struggling, but I don't think that it's not to say that he's not going to be playable. I think he's playable, but
I think it totally depends. I mean, we could go through some names again, but Patterson for the right price, I think you could package Patterson and another position where you have some room and really do well trading up to some really nice stability, because Patterson's not going to maintain it. I mean, he's like number 3 running back right now. He'll probably be somewhere like 12, 13 end of season, I'd say.
yeah,
So
I mean,
you get a
it's
guy-
pretty good.
everyone's so high on Ridley and Pitts. It's like if those guys are going to get involved, it's going to come at the expense of probably.
I mean,
Patterson.
if you can get a guy I probably wouldn't have it, but I would totally trade Patterson for Ridley right now.
Yeah.
No?
Oh yeah, easily.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Buy low. Here's an interesting one. Michael Pittman, pretty impressive recently, getting some good consistency going. And Carson Wentz, I mean, what a forgotten person. At least the people aren't hating on him as much as they used to. But it's like
They're
I
hating on him
remember
for
the-
different reasons.
Yeah, I remember scrolling through draft rankings at the beginning of the season, Control FIND, and then it's like Jonathan Taylor, like a 30-minute drive, and then everybody else. But I mean, the ball's going somewhere. They got it going against the Ravens. I mean, then Wentz comes back to reality and can't finish a game. But I think that Pittman is a great bench asset to have, a great fill-in for buys as they come up. If you can trade a guy like, if you're a little bit deep at running back and can trade a guy like
Moss.
Moss,
Mhm.
Moss tough because that's some good offense there they do in Buffalo. But I like Pittman a lot. And then I think both Bengals receivers, Higgins is the more reasonable buy low, but I think Jamar Chase is still. I love these young receivers. This is why I was so hot on Jefferson. When you see that, because they just kind of go up into the upper echelon of receivers at the bat of the season, and you're kind of expecting that. You don't really realize the potential. And there's guys, Odell's rookie year, who are some other great rookie wide receivers. I mean, Randy Moss had a great one, but that's who he's being compared to right now. And Joe Burrow, I think he's gonna get things figured out. They're gonna get that offense going. So I love both of them. And then lastly, Darrell Henderson, one of the least sexy borderline RB1s of all time. Rams offense good. There will be volume. He is getting all the touches. Sony Michel, like
Ultra
looks
to
good in
touchdown,
blue and
too.
yellow, but he's still Sonny Michelle. Daryl Henderson, I think, is another great buy low. If you can get like a little bit of Allen Robinson action out there for him, or maybe
Who's doing
maybe-
that?
hey, I think that's not off the table.
Do we have an opinion on Allen Robinson? Because I am terrified to.
No, you don't want him at
I
all.
don't think I want him.
You're staying away.
I'm not as low as other people. He still sits out. Justin Fields is rookie. I mean, he's just we have such high expectations for rookie quarterbacks nowadays. It's kind of unfair.
But even with Dalton at the beginning of the year, he wasn't getting the deep targets. He wasn't playing the same role in the offense. I mean, Mooney's taken that deep role, and Allen Robinson still can. But if you look at that, like, there's so many good Twitter assets these days. It's a whole nother discussion. But like, I'm on Twitter and I'm seeing these like bold charts of like where they run their routes, which they used for DeAndre Hopkins last year to be like, what is Cliff Kingsbury doing? This year it was for Allen Robinson, and he ran like 40 routes and only one went past like 15 yards or something crazy. When you remember what he did for Jacksonville, I'm sure Mike's like big, puts a smile on his face. He was just darting down the field and getting these long targets and making acrobatic catches. And that's just not the role that he's playing right now. And it scares me a little bit for sure.
Loving that he's decreasing his value in the offseason.
there's nothing to do.
Season. Trevor Lawrence could use a wide receiver one coming up.
Yeah, a little
That
reunion.
would be funny, wouldn't it?
Speaking of, I think Trevor Lawrence is someone you should be targeting in your league. I think the Jags have finally figured out, well, maybe, who knows, that running the ball is going to be their best way to stay in games and to be successful. And it starts with James Robinson and it finishes with Trevor Lawrence. It does not include Carlos Hyde at any point in time. And I just think Trevor's starting to settle down a little bit, and he's playing better. He's making better decisions. And
I
I
just
think
realized we have the number 1 and the number 31 and 32 coaches in the NFL as the fan teams.
there's
The
a good
worst
chance if the
coaches.
Jags lose on Sunday, Urban's not coming back to the States.
God, the three of
He's
us,
just
the
staying,
three of us
staying
are-
in the UK.
we are just fans of the worst teams. Seriously,
It's so
the
sad,
Raiders,
man.
Lions, and Jets.
And I think someone else you should be targeting is Miles Sanders. I know Noah said he hates the Eagles backfield, and I just, there's no way you can tell me that he shouldn't be getting more targets than he is. He's the way that they win is by giving him the ball. So I think better days are ahead, and you could probably get him for dirt cheap.
I was looking forward all show when I was looking through the doc to hear that from you, just because I feel like I've always been the guy.
It's
back.
always been me since his rookie year. I was so invested and involved in Miles Sanders, and he's just let me down every single year.
Me and you.
Good thing I don't own him in any league this year, so I stayed away.
A few other rooms I don't do. I don't do Cleveland receivers. I just don't buy me any Cleveland receivers in the future as a gift. I don't do Kansas City running backs. I don't do Vegas running backs. I don't do Houston running backs unless it's Arian Foster. Yeah. I don't do Jacksonville.
You're a big James
Your own
Robinson
James
guy last year.
Robinson, bro.
We love little J Rob. And I don't do Bengals running backs, obviously.
Ooh.
And I don't do Atlanta running backs unless you're Cordell Patterson.
Basically, you're drafting from 10 teams out of the NFL. When it comes to Noah's draft board, you look at the war room. It's just like 75 players x'd out and like circle Deontay Johnson and Anthony Miller.
Like Miles Sanders could have fallen so far. I'm just not going to deal with it. Anyways, let's get down. We're probably about 20 minutes over where we need to be. Some buyer sells here with this week 6 coming up.
Oh God.
AJ Brown against Buffalo, Monday night game, over under 63 yards. And I'm thinking about it.
I'm going under.
Going over.
Not even testing the waters with this shit anymore.
Yeah,
I'm
I put
going
this
over.
together because
I'm
I want
out.
your guys' opinion. So I'm
Dude, this is so-
listening back.
That's a tough one.
This is it right here. If he does not produce, obviously it's the Bills and Tre'Davious White. They have a great defense and great secondary. But if he does not produce when they need to throw the ball,
Julio's still
I
out.
don't know. I don't know.
He might
when-
play this week. I don't know.
I think
Yeah,
if
I think
Julio-
Julio's a game time decision, but it's gonna be. Buffalo's gonna put up the points, so it's whether you believe that AJ Brown's gonna be effective against this defense. You know,
He was so good at football last year.
He- to be fair, he is nursing. He is nursing a little bit of an injury, and he was nursing injuries in the offseason. So maybe it's just a slow start.
I gotta go over.
Thank you, Noah.
All right, so we have Mike and Noah at over, and me and Jared at under.
It's just gotta happen.
We love the old four-way split. What do you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
think about Leonard Fournette? I think this is one of those feel-good stories, somewhat. This
Not for
backfield,
Mike.
at least- yeah, at least for me, this was one of the backfields where I was like, oh god, like this is gonna be just
No.
horrible. Ronald Jones is, I think just hated by the team. I don't think they want him on the team. Giovanni Bernard's been a little bit of a pest, but over under 15 PPR points. I know the last 2 weeks he's been over, and the previous first 2 weeks of the season he was
So-
under.
At Philly Thursday night.
This is at Philly Thursday night, so people need to know: do I put him in the lineup as a?
Oh,
what
yeah.
are my
I'd
expectations?
be
What do you guys
surprised.
think?
Put him in no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as 15 PPR, I'll take the over there.
I'm going over.
I'm going over as well.
I'm going under.
All right.
I think Tom Brady's going to throw like 5 touchdown
with that.
passes to receivers.
Jared with the
There
down.
we go.
I'm
Let's do a
going
little
under.
speed round here. Fact or fiction? Mike Williams, wide receiver 1. Fact.
Fact.
If we're going rest of season, I think fiction.
Fiction.
I think he will end up a wide receiver 1 on the season just because he's been so dominant. But I think from here on out, not discounting injury, I don't know. I have a hard time seeing it.
Ridley, wide receiver 1, rest of season.
Fiction.
Oh,
Fact.
fiction.
Yeah, I have to. Like I'm in too deep. I can't.
You
I
ask
can't
me
work out now.
fact or fiction, I say fact. Do I want to trade for him? Absolutely not.
He's still got 10
yeah.
targets a game, so we'll see. I'm trying to convince
10
myself.
8-yard targets,
It's
no
just really-
touchdowns.
It's
Everybody's
really-
got one, I think.
Pitts is so. I mean, Pitts being good actually is what Ridley needs.
For this one, let's rank rest of season these 3 guys: Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, and DeAndre Hopkins. First of all, give me a: are you super concerned or not concerned? And then where do you see these guys and how are they going to finish?
I am not concerned with any of them, but I would rank them Tyreek, Diggs, then Hopkins.
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
I'd go Diggs, Reek, Hopkins.
The reason I think so, the reason Diggs is I think having a down year is it's exactly what you want if you're the Bills. You just haven't needed him. You have Dawson, you have your 11 Beasley every week, and the big thing, Emmanuel Sanders is taking a lot of volume away. 2 touchdowns last week. I think he had another one 2 weeks ago. This is what happens when you have these nomadic wide receivers who are in their early 30s, and you forget when you put an Emmanuel Sanders on a team like that, and he's done this like 2 teams in a row. Brandon Cooks, same deal. They're still super talented. You put them with an elite quarterback, they're going to warrant targets. And Diggs had such a breakout year this year that you have to start treating him like Tyreek and treating him like DeAndre and build your defensive game plan around him. So I am a little worried about Diggs, but I still will take him over Hopkins just because I think the Cardinals offense can be less consistently moving.
I think one of the big things that I've seen kind of over this year, and especially I think it shows with Diggs and Hopkins, is I think it's just those quarterbacks taking the next step. Becoming elite quarterbacks, part of becoming an elite quarterback is using all your weapons and spreading it around. I mean, you've seen like Brady, Breeze, Manning, Rivers. I don't know why I said Rivers, but Rivers is an example of just like, I think the people, when they first take that step and they really trust their arm, they like to target and lock onto a guy like you saw last year with Hopkins and you saw this last year with Diggs, and they take that next step and it's like, okay, I know what I have in that receiver, but I trust myself to spread it around. But I do think touchdown regression is coming for both of them in a positive way, but I think that's just kind of I don't think it's a lack of skill on their part, so I'm not super concerned. But I think I rank it Reek, Diggs, Hopkins as well.
I'm a big Rivers guy, as you can tell. Throw Cup in there. I mean, you take in any of those guys, taking Cup over any of those guys. I'm not.
You got to take Cup.
I think
over
I
Hopkins,
would go
yeah.
Reek, Cup, Diggs, Hopkins.
Reek,
Yeah,
Cup, Diggs, Hopkins.
same.
I'm not. But thank you though. Second year wide receiver, not so much breakout.
All right, I should probably be reading these. I feel like coming into the year, that's been a storyline all the time. Is that second year breakout, and you look at guys like Ayuk, Claypool, Higgins, Ruggs. What are we believing that still? And are those people you want to target, or do you think it's just a Jefferson's the guy, Lamb's, good, a little bit underwhelming from what we've seen so far, but really good? Where are we feeling about some of the other guys? Do we think they have the
Claypool we've talked about? Higgins, you guys know my thoughts on. CeeDee Lamb, I think I'm still very high on. I think you don't really have to overthink that. Ruggs,
I mean, can we agree that CeeDee Lamb was overdrafted? And it's not like it's getting better when Michael Gallup returns.
I think it's just the passing volume is lower than we all thought.
Yeah, I
They're
think
blowing out teams.
they're playing too good.
Yeah.
Probably overdrafted. I just like he's
Talent wise, of course. Yeah.
gonna have some games. And then I guarantee Amari or Zeke is out a few weeks, and those young legs. I have this image like welded into my head of CeeDee Lamb basically like walking around Texas defenders at OU Red River Rivalry. Like literally, I just remember him being fully upright and kind of doing a shuffle to the right and continuing down the field. And it was the most like relaxed juke ever.
It's like Alvin Kamara.
And I
in
in that moment
receiver
was like
form.
but that's what it looked like Kieran camp counselor with the kids, like whoop, like and then from that moment I was like, that guy's different. I think he's still probably a top 5 dynasty receiver. You remember, you guys ever were a sports camp counselor? I was a sports camp counselor, and it was like would be like 40 kids versus like 6 counselors dodgeball.
I can see him having a little trouble bringing you down.
We had to go out. What?
I said I could see trouble with a bunch of kids trying to take you down on a handoff up the middle.
Oh
I feel
yeah.
like you just
Oh
blow
no.
it.
I mean, we only played tackle football on Wednesdays, so they had a week to recover. But when we played dodgeball, it was just so fun. You have unlimited balls; they're terrible at throwing, and you just hit them you can throw it as hard as you can. It bounced off their little face. And some of the dumb kids were like sore losers because I was so much better than the dodgeball. But most of the kids like realized when it's 1 against 20, it's like me and 4 unathletic counselors. So I really had to carry the team.
This reminds me of my Pee Wee football team. Lil Jordan Humphrey was on our team. And every day at the end of practice, the entire team would line up on one side of the field and LJ would be on the other side. And if anybody could tackle him, we wouldn't have to run gassers. And literally we ran gassers every single time. It's that good.
And you never know where the conversation of a guy's big episode is going to go. I miss this, man.
That's probably an accurate athletic disparity between the most athletic.
Literally.
Lil Jordan and his peers versus Noah and a bunch of 6-year-olds when he was like.
Yeah,
15.
I just think now that Gruden's gone down, you don't know who they're coming for next. So when you say you're throwing balls at little kids, 6-year-old faces, and that they're not very good at throwing it back, who knows how that one's gonna
Be
last.
careful what you put out there, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, it's scary out here. Seriously. Anyways, probably it's probably, if anything, it's gonna be like Karan and Brandon watching old clips and getting some really bad takes out. He predicted Aaron Foster running back.
What a loser.
Was a loser.
In that
Kamara, dude of the week.
we need a quick shout out for Michael Smith, as we're all in our GBD league together, and he's really holding down the fort for us as we go through a little bit of a rough spell. Michael Smith is just dominating, taking people down, taking names.
What's the record there?
4-1.
4-1.
I lost to Sam because Aaron Jones went off that Monday.
I do want to say, even though I was 0-3, I'm now 2-3. So I'm on the come up.
Ooh, comeback.
Yeah.
You did play Kenneth Gainwell in a 10-team league, though,
Yeah.
and Miles Sanders.
Well, that's the double Eagles stack. I mean, you can't.
Neither of
a-
them scored.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw that and I was like, what is happening? And his flex wasn't any better.
10-team
Who it
league.
was. Gainwell to 10-2 is just mwah. Kareem Hunt and Chubb, both top 10 backs rest of the year, fact or fiction?
Oh, if it's
First of all, who
PPR,
do you
I'm
want?
calling fact.
Hunt outscoring him.
I still want Chubb. A little safer.
Chubb, yeah.
Yeah,
Just a
I actually
smidge safer.
think Kareem is both a buy low and a sell high because I think it's perception. I think, hear me out. I think the
Getting
perception
late.
is so
I both
different.
want him and don't want him.
No, I want him for the right price, and I'll sell him for the right price too. Because
Oh,
if someone's
really?
someone's valuing Kareem where he was drafted, or a little bit above where he's drafted, versus a running back one, which I think you just never know where someone's valued at in someone's head. So the point is
Yeah.
like because it's so different, and it could be so. This is actually turning into a kind of a good point because there's such a range of perception of him. I think you should ask your local Hunt owner, hey, how's that running back one doing, or how's that fifth rounder doing, and see what's behind that door.
Funny. I barked up our good friend Sahib King's tree for Dallas Goddard a couple weeks ago, and he asked for Kareem Hunt in return. And I
How's that little league going that I won last year?
said, take a hike, pal. I'm last in the league, by the way.
Oh no,
My
Don't
team
worry.
sucks.
Don't worry. At the end of the season, they'll expand the playoffs to allow you in, and you'll win. And
Oh
and
my
that's
God, you voted for that. I want to hear
That's I'm the villain.
it. Stupid.
I'm the villain. I'm the villain.
And the two people that really pushed hard for that didn't even make the playoffs. And my sorry ass team made it.
Yep,
It's pretty
Hey,
funny.
it's fantasy football. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
dude, it's amazing because you know what really won me that. What really won me that league is drafting like 1 week before the James Robinson hype. Like
Yeah.
I drafted him in like the last round, and I had Kamara, James Robinson, and David Montgomery, and that's all you really needed last year.
Came over. Yeah.
Dude of the week, going into week 6, I got my guy Pittman playing the Houston Texans divisional game. Wentz, it's in Indianapolis. Wentz is not feeling great after last week. I think Pittman has a great show out there.
I mean, Wentz still had 420 yards passing or something
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Like he played well outside of that
Second
last.
most in the game, though. I mean, he was last place in passing yards. So, wait,
Huron's not having it.
you're on okay. Loud
Okay,
and
I'll
clear,
go.
loud and clear. Videos off.
I think I've
So
read.
I'm going Rondell Moore against the Browns. Normally I wouldn't pick against the Browns, but
I came up with Rondell Moore though, so
we saw what the Browns can do when they play a good offense, and they can, I guess, move the ball quickly and give up a lot of points. And they have a good pass rush, so I'm thinking Kyler's gonna have to get the box, some quick, speedy guys.
There you go.
Who's better than Rondell Moore?
That's that hard hitting analysis that you always bring,
It's a
Jared.
gut feeling.
I'm going with Javonte Williams because if last week taught us anything, it's that the Raiders can support 2 opposing running backs being relevant. And I just think Javonte Williams is by far better than Melvin Gordon. Not that Melvin Gordon's a slouch. And if you listen to any GBD episode before, I've probably brought up a rookie running back. So, I mean, those are 3 win-win-win right there. So Javonte Williams, big game against the Raiders.
Yeah, and I'll go with. I mean, I hope that isn't the case, but I have a feeling it will be. I'll go with Deontay Johnson. I think he's obviously a must play in your lineup, but as we touched on earlier in the show, I think he's just going to get peppered with targets with Juju out. Those are the targets that I think he gets, that little interim medium 5 to 25 yard range. So I think the expectation can go up for him, especially against the Seahawks D. They just cut a starting corner right before the show started. Their defense is in shambles. No Russ. So I think it might be a blowout. So I'm all about Deontay Johnson this week, and I think there's going to be a regression in targets. He had 2 last week. I expect 12 to 15.
Is the Seahawks defense bad enough to make Ben Roethlisberger look good?
I think Ben Roethlisberger might have
Yeah.
like a 10-yard scramble. I think it could happen. It could happen this week.
Wow. Oh yeah, my bold prediction of Deontay as a top 10, probably not. Big Ben as a top 10, probably not.
I mean, Deontay as a top. I think you are overselling like that. He's had one bad target game. He's been really good outside.
No, it's not that. I
Good
mean,
points.
he had 2 targets this past week though, so
Yeah,
that's
Scored a touchdown.
He's performed in terms of like
Oh,
fantasy.
I
finish.
have him in all my teams. I'm just, yeah.
You're worried.
It sounds like I need to trade for him then, is what you're
No,
hearing.
whoa, guys, let's slow down. I'm a big Deontay guy. I said I wanted him over Chase in most situations. And we'll settle
Most
it back.
Yeah, I mean, in 4 games, 14, 19, 24, 15. So, I mean, it's kind of what I want out of a top 10 guy if he keeps it up.
Yeah. Dud of the week. I'm gonna go back to where I've been harping all day. Josh Jacobs, huffing and puffing in the Mile High Stadium.
Fair. All right. I'm going
John,
Jags.
Are you there?
Jags receiving core.
John.
No offense to Mike, but you look at Dan Arnold, and is he their best receiver? Possibly.
He's actually good at football.
I
And
picked
He's
him
good
up.
at catching the ball.
He's at least 20 times better than CJ Henderson. So clown us all you want. You should clown the previous regime for taking CJ Henderson.
Oh, I want to run
Like
back
that
the tape
pick.
of Mike literally saying
Yeah.
week 1 of last year, defensive rookie of the year, CJ Henderson, next shutdown corner. There is tape out there saying that. And now
Mike
look at
just hyped up.
Bro,
he
he had
my
such
God.
a good. He had such a good game, and we won, and he shut down the Colts. And
And now it's the old regime. So are you part of the old regime?
That's funny.
I was so invested, and then he was just terrible every other week, and he's had some issues adapting. So I was not.
I'm
Too
sure
upset
my
to
dud is
see that.
probably one of the guys who shredded CJ Henderson back last year in divisional play. We've talked about him enough. AJ Brown.
He's given up like a perfect passer rating this year.
Maybe that'll solve AJ Brown's
They
problem.
put him in. They put him in against the Cowboys, and Amari scored literally that next play.
Yeah. Okay. We
On
figured
him.
out the remedy for AJ Brown's problems. We need to wait till they play the Panthers and CJ Henderson lines up against him. But AJ Brown this week, I think this is a make or break week in terms of how you're going to feel about him at the end of the year. I'm sure he'll pull it together and be great towards the back end. But for right now, if he doesn't perform to this week, must start. I don't know. You know, he might have to lower that to a matchup play.
Maybe that's why AJ Brown was so good last year. He played the Jags twice and CJ.
I think so.
But I'm going CD. I think someone on the Cowboys that you're starting has a complete dud. I think Belichick takes away whether it's Amari, CD, Zeke. I think it's going to be CD, but it could be any of them. Tread lightly.
Interesting. All right, DFS. Instead of doing some full lineups, we're just going to pick some heavy hitters, some guys you want to target that are good values. And I'll start off with Hunter Renfrow, 4,900. PPR, of course, in DraftKings. You want someone with stability. And Hunter Renfrow is a guy that can bring stability not only to your lineup, but to the Raiders lineup. that's
In the
what you
locker
do.
room.
And the locker. He's a glue guy. Jim Rat.
You see him at safety the other day, just
Dude, he's so
laying
good.
the hammer.
That play was
That was a
awesome.
play of the year.
He's so
Oh.
good.
Renfro. That's the kind of guy I want on my team,
Mhm.
Javonte, I was out on, but he's looking pretty good. I like him this week at 5K. 4K. Never mind. I was trying to do like a mile pun, like a mile is like 6,000 feet or something. It didn't work out. Let's move on. T. Higgins, 5,300. T. Higgins is guy's a good football player. He's gonna break out one of these weeks. He's gonna have another one come into the conversation. But I like those guys this week.
Yeah, I think, and on T. Higgins, he's, I think, target on 47 or 48% of Joe Burrow's red zone targets have been to T. Higgins. So I think he's going to come back into form. Jamar Chase is obviously like killing it on the deep balls, but when it comes down to the red zone, I think he really trusts T. Higgins, and that could pan out good. I think mine, I have a couple. Noah touched on at running back, Darrell Henderson, 6,000. I mean, that's 2,800 less than, the top tier running back guys. So you're saving a ton there. And I think he's
So
back.
unsexy.
Yeah, I think he's a back end RB1, and he's playing the worst defense in football. And Mike Glennon could be at the helm, so it could be a run heavy game script. I think that's a smash. At wide receiver, as Noah puts his screen back up, 4,200. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Quintez Cephas broke his collarbone. Yeah, collarbone out for the year, and I think St. Brown had like 8 or 9 targets last week, so I think that could tick up. And you never know, he could fall in the end zone.
One of our greatest segments of all time was the best name in football bracket. We might have to double down because we got a new real serious contender in the league right now, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Vegas has him at plus 800 to win it all in the name competition. But Kieran, it seems like you have one more there.
That's kind of a smash. Yeah, I think he's a good play in DFS and a good play in the name challenge.
This one's
this other guy has a good name too, Hollywood Brown. He has been just not only sensational this year, but going back to like the last 6 weeks of last season, he had a touchdown or 100 yards in all of the games last year. And then into this year, if you don't count those 2 drops, he either has 1 or 2 touchdowns and 100 yards in all of the games. So Lamar is starting to turn it loose. I think if you put those 2 stretches together, he's a wide receiver 1, and at 5,900, that's pretty cheap. You can get him as your third wide receiver. So I'm playing him over AJ Brown this week in our league, so we'll see how that goes.
Would you rather have Hollywood than AJ Brown in Dynasty?
No,
of course not.
He's young. He's like 20. What is he, like 24?
So was
they're
AJ
the
Brown
same.
both
They're
of
the
them.
same draft
I
class.
know.
No, AJ
That's what
Brown.
I'm
The only
saying.
question there is who you want now, and I think you can go either way there.
I think it's closer than.
I think it's Marquise now, AJ forever. I have AJ forever tattooed on my back.
My value of the week for DFS, I went in there hoping to take Dan Arnold, but the Jags play the early game over across the pond. So I picked another tight end in Hunter Henry, who's sub 4,000, coming off an 8-target, 6-catch touchdown game. I mean, you go $100 less than him, and it's Robert 2-target Tunyon, who sucks at football. So I think Hunter Henry is a smash at 3,900.
Robbie 2 T's. Guys, I want to make a few interesting observations here before we wrap up. Quarterback right now, I'm looking at scoring. Quarterback right now, we have Patrick Mahomes averaging 27 points a game. Number 7, Hurts averaging 25. Then it drops to Stafford, 22, and it's a steady drop. Point being, there's a 2-point differential between Mahomes, Brady, Lamar, Josh Allen, Herbert, Kyler, and Hurts. There's a big outlier there. I hate the Eagles offense, but Hurts is getting it done. It's going to be a shakier. It's going to be, and I was totally out on Hurts in the beginning of the season, but if he had scored 5 more points, fantasy points on the season, he would be up at QB4 above Josh Allen. Okay. So I want us to be aware of that.
If you watch the games, he's had 4 or 5 touchdowns called back. So he could easily
And he's missed like 2 wide open people in the end zone.
Yeah. Another one I want to point out, I think he's a good trade target. Another trade target I want to point out, number 8 running back on the season, James Robinson. And the volume is coming back. I mean, you got names around him, Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Cordero Patterson, Najee Harris. And then Darrell Henderson at 15 right now. There's 2 guys, I think. And honestly, maybe my biggest take of the week here, now that I'm looking at points, David Montgomery. Excellent. I would go out and try to get him. I think it's an excellent option if you have a good team right now. Store on your IR, comes in immediately into your RB2. You could probably send away someone like Fournette for him right now. Would you do that if you needed it? If you had a good team and you had stability?
Yeah.
If I was over 500, yeah.
Last thing, I'm going to just read the top 10 receivers because this is just wow.
It's wild.
Mike Williams, Cooper Kupp, Tebow Samuel, Tyreek Hill, Marquise Brown, Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson, DJ Moore. And then round wise, it's like 10, 5, 9, 1, Marquise Brown, 7, 8, like Jamar Chase, 7. And you got a bunch of big names. Emmanuel Sanders at 14 right now. The reason I wanted to do this is around the time of the year you see a lot of stability and these names that haven't come into fruition yet. Look for the names. Okay, this is how fantasy football works. There's a lot of analytics, there's a lot of skills involved. And hey, there's probably nobody listening to this podcast this late in the episode. But that being said, look for these unsexy. Look for the Darrell Hendersons of the world and see if you can go get them. If you're not doing well right now, take a big name, take a Tyreek Hill, see if you can replace those points with a few different pieces. Anything else to add there, guys?
Happy to have the full squad back.
I know.
Oh yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good stuff. Good stuff going on here. And Michael, we really hope that you can stick around every time you're on the field out here. You
I know. I'm
just
just
tear it
I'm
up.
hoping I don't
And he'll probably be on a different
maybe
podcast.
aggravate that injury and wind up back on IR. You know.
Oh, geez.
The
Wouldn't
groin
that be a
injury.
shame?
It's a liver injury from all the work happy hour.
I heard he tore it on a golf course too. I mean, it's just unacceptable. But anyways, thank you so much for tuning in to Guys Being Dudes. You can follow us on Twitter at Dudes Football. If you're with us this late, DM the Twitter account. I'll Venmo you $1. Except for you, Mom. We've talked about this.
Or Brandon.
But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Much love. We out.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
Can I bandwagon one more time? Full
Totally
tough, baby.
represent.